We have some major breaking news. Sean Diddy Combs has just filed a $100 million defamation lawsuit against NBC Universal for the making of Diddy, the making of a Bad Boy documentary.
He will be sued. And I say will be because nothing has been filed yet by at least 120 people in the next 30 days.
The case against Sean Diddy Combs is unraveling in ways that no one could have predicted. Once a titan of the music industry, celebrated for his charm, charisma, and undeniable business acumen, Diddy now finds himself at the very center of what might be the most shocking scandal of his career. Yet, for all the noise surrounding the allegations, the foundation of the case seems to be crumbling under scrutiny, and Wack 100 has emerged as an unlikely voice of reason, or chaos, depending on who you ask. His revelations paint a picture of a prosecution struggling to hold its narrative together, while Diddy's defense team exploits every crack in the armor. And let's be honest, when someone with Diddy's wealth and influence is involved, does justice even stand a chance?
I'm not surprised with the decision. I'm surprised that Judge Subramanian entertained it. He held a 2-hour hearing, which we were covering live, and he issued a 5-page written order. Most other judges, including the 2 previous judges, to consider this issue summarily denied the bail motion. I think a lot of it stems from Judge Subramanian being a newer judge. This is a Biden appointee.
Let's start with the sheer audacity of the claims made by Wack 100. Known for his no-holds-barred commentary, Wack has been vocal about the perceived weaknesses in the case against Diddy. He doesn't mince words. He outright says that the evidence is flimsy, the charges are overblown, and the entire thing might just be a setup. According to Wack, the prosecution's case lacks the kind of concrete proof needed to put someone like Diddy away. And here's the kicker, Wack is predicting that Diddy will walk free by May 12th. That's not just speculation, it's a bold statement that, if true, could reshape public perception of this entire ordeal. But why does he believe this? What does he know that the rest of us don't?
If that's all they got, if that, like for example with Diddy, if that's all they got, he might actually walk free. And in fact, I heard he's getting bail. I'm not 100% sure of this, but I know someone that knows someone in the feds that told him that he's getting bail.
The only thing about Diddy thing that has me scratching my head, and you know I don't doubt nothing they know how to do, is I've never seen a one-man RICO.
For one, Wack points to the glaring absence of hard evidence. Sure, there are accusations, plenty of them, but where's the smoking gun? Where are the receipts, the undeniable proof that Diddy was directly involved in the alleged activities? It's one thing to make claims in a press conference or court filing, but it's another to back them up with indisputable facts. And let's face it, in a case this high profile, the burden of proof isn't just on the prosecution, it's on the court of public opinion. Right now, that opinion is divided and the cracks are beginning to show.
The flight was always going to be a tough argument for the government because obviously Combs voluntarily came to New York. He surrendered his passports through his lawyer. He could have fled after the March raids of his Miami and Los Angeles homes, but he didn't. He has access to 2 private jets. I think it was a tougher argument. I know the government made the argument, but clearly the best argument was the dangerousness and the witness tampering. They had much more evidence.
Adding to the drama is the strange lack of arrests among Diddy's so-called accomplices. In cases like this, you'd expect a domino effect. One person gets picked up, then another and another until the entire operation is laid bare. But here, nothing. Not a single high-profile arrest of anyone allegedly linked to the accusations. It's almost as if the prosecution is shooting in the dark, hoping to hit something substantial. And that raises an uncomfortable question. If they can't even pin down Diddy's alleged collaborators, how solid can their case against him really be? It's a question that's been whispered in legal circles and shouted on social media, and it's one that the prosecution seems unable or unwilling to answer.
I don't know if they charged him wrong, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if they should have just charged him directly with whatever the immediate charge was, but he's under a RICO, you know what I'm saying? Like when you look at Big U's thing, it's like 7 or 8 other people.
Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team is playing chess while everyone else is stuck on checkers. These aren't amateurs, they're seasoned professionals who know how to navigate the murky waters of high-stakes litigation. They've already tried twice to secure bail for Diddy, offering everything from passport forfeitures to property equity to sweeten the deal. And while the judge wasn't biting, the effort itself speaks volumes. This isn't just a defense strategy, it's a declaration of intent. Diddy's team is sending a clear message. They're not just fighting for his freedom, they're fighting to dismantle the entire narrative against him. And with resources like his, they might just succeed.
Now, this particular defense attorney's reason for quitting wasn't really a reason at all, making his departure a lot more puzzling.
But let's not ignore the elephant in the room, Diddy's wealth and influence. For all the talk about justice being blind, it's hard to ignore the reality that money and power have a way of tipping the scales. Diddy isn't just a man, he's an empire. He's a brand, a mogul, a symbol of success in an industry that thrives on image. And that image has bought him a lot of goodwill over the years. But it's also bought him something else: access to the best lawyers, to the right connections, to the kind of leverage that most people can only dream of. It's no wonder that many of his accusers are terrified that he'll walk free. To them, this isn't just about justice. It's about the fear that someone with Diddy's clout can bend the system to his will. And let's talk about that fear. The accusers, the alleged victims, are up against a machine that's bigger than any individual. They're fighting not just Diddy, but the aura he's cultivated over decades. They're fighting an industry that has, for too long, protected its own. And they're fighting the perception that, no matter what they say or do, the man at the center of it all will find a way to come out unscathed. That kind of fear isn't just palpable, it's paralyzing. It's the kind of fear that keeps people silent, that makes them second-guess their decisions, that makes them wonder if speaking out was ever worth it.
And he is very, very dominant. Like, he wants to control the situation. He wants to control his inner circle. He wants to make everyone have a good time and enjoy his parties. And so, you know, it is scary because you think, you know, this person or possibly his social network or the people he's around could make or break your career.
But fear isn't just limited to the accusers. It's rippling through the industry, through the circles of power that have long orbited Diddy's gravitational pull. Because if someone like Diddy can be brought down, who's next? What other secrets might come to light? And more importantly, who else might be implicated? These aren't just idle questions. They're the kind of questions that keep people up at night. The kind of questions that make you wonder just how deep this rabbit hole goes. As the public watches this drama unfold, the tension is almost unbearable. Every new revelation, every twist and turn, feels like a step closer to some unthinkable truth. And yet, for all the noise, there's a growing sense that the case against Diddy is losing steam, that the prosecution is running out of moves, that the empire might, once again, find a way to strike back. And as we edge closer to May 12, the date Wack 100 so confidently predicts will mark Diddy's release, the stakes couldn't be higher. Because if he walks free, it won't just be a victory for Diddy, it'll be a message to the world that power, influence, and wealth can still trump justice. And that's a reality that's too unsettling to ignore.
Now we've done 3 others where we've laid out the prosecution case. This time, we're talking specifically, what is Diddy's defense? And we decided to test it with a mock jury, and it is fascinating.
It is absolutely fascinating, keeping in mind that the real jury will be sitting down to do this. The trial starts first week in May.
But as damning as these revelations are, they're just the tip of the iceberg. Because while the case against Diddy might be faltering, another narrative is emerging, one that's darker, more twisted, and far more explosive. It's a narrative that doesn't just question Diddy's innocence, but shines a spotlight on the secretive world he's been accused of creating. And if even half of what's being whispered is true, then what comes next will make everything we've seen so far look like a warm-up act. And yet, as the cracks in the case against Diddy grow wider, what lurks behind the scenes is even more sinister, because if you think the legal battle is the full story, you're not paying attention. The whispers, the old stories, the resurfaced allegations, they all point to something much darker. Diddy's infamous parties, once the stuff of industry legend, are now emerging as potential smoking guns in the court of public opinion. These weren't just lavish gatherings with A-list guest lists. No, what's now coming to light paints a picture of power plays, manipulation, and secrets buried so deep that they're only now clawing their way to the surface.
You are literally, it's an unhealthy space. And so eventually you're going to go too far, you know? Who knows what happened to Philip? Who knows what he had to do in order to get to where he was at? There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head, you know, but when you lose your man card.
Terrence Howard, a man who's no stranger to Hollywood's shadowy corners, recently dropped a bombshell that has everyone talking. His revelations about what really went down at these parties are chilling, to say the least. Howard didn't hold back. He described an environment so toxic, so exploitative, that it left even seasoned insiders questioning what they'd stumbled into. According to him, these weren't just social events. They were carefully orchestrated spectacles designed to pull people into Diddy's orbit and then keep them there whether they wanted to be or not. The way Howard tells it, once you were in for good. And if you tried to walk away, well, let's just say that wasn't an option.
Card.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying.
Terrence Howard didn't just describe the atmosphere at these parties. He painted a picture so vivid, it's impossible not to shudder. He claimed that attendees quickly realized the rules of engagement weren't just unspoken, they were enforced. Howard alleged that Diddy had an uncanny ability to read the room, to know exactly who needed to be impressed, who needed to be intimidated, and who needed to be silenced. It wasn't just about the glitz and glamour, it was about control. Howard mentioned seeing people he respected, industry leaders, artists he admired, reduced to shadows of themselves, as if the pressure to conform to Diddy's world had stripped them of their individuality. And the most chilling part? Howard hinted that Diddy didn't just thrive on this power dynamic, he orchestrated it.
You know, if you say the wrong thing or you complain or you know, I don't know, there's an element where you're just, I guess manipulated in a way to make you feel like, oh, you have to please everyone around you. You can't say anything wrong. You don't want to say a bad thing, or, you know, when they're constantly asking, would you like to do and you're like, well, I don't do and they're like, well, why don't you do?
Howard also revealed that these gatherings weren't as private as people might think. He claimed that there was always an air of surveillance, even if it wasn't immediately obvious. According to Howard, the staff at these events, bartenders, servers, even security, weren't just there to do their jobs. Howard said he overheard conversations that made it clear some of them were tasked with more than just serving drinks or ensuring safety. Their real job, he suggested, was to observe and report. Who said what, who seemed too comfortable, who might pose a threat. All of it allegedly made its way back to Diddy. Howard described the feeling of being watched, of knowing that every move you made could be analyzed, cataloged, and potentially used against you. For someone like Howard, who's known for being outspoken, the experience was unsettling to say the least.
That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once go fluid, shoot.
But what might be the most shocking revelation of all is the way Howard described the aftermath of these parties. He said that people didn't just leave with hangovers, they left with baggage. Howard claimed he personally witnessed people receiving warnings, subtle and not so subtle, about what they could and couldn't talk about. He described one instance where an artist fresh off a career-making hit was pulled aside and reminded of who had helped them get there. Howard said it wasn't a conversation, it was a veiled threat. And the artist? They nodded, smiled, and went on their way, as if they'd been conditioned to accept it. Howard said that moment stuck with him, not because of the threat itself, but because of the look in the artist's eyes. It wasn't fear, it was resignation, as if they knew there was no way out.
No, I get it. So you see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head.
But Howard isn't the only one hinting at the darker side of Diddy's empire. Usher, who's been tied to Diddy's world since he was a teenager, has long alluded to the curious things he witnessed during his time under Diddy's influence. These cryptic remarks have resurfaced in light of the current scandal, and they're taking on a whole new meaning. Back then, they might have sounded like harmless anecdotes, the kind of stories you laugh off in late-night interviews. But now they read like warning signs that went ignored for far too long. The way Usher described it, those parties weren't just about having a good time, they were about control, about power, about ensuring that everyone in the room knew exactly who was running the show.
You know, there's a short life in
Why do you think that is with the creative side?
Well, because losing out money, you got to take you're going through so much to try and deal with life.
And let's not forget the conspiracy theories swirling around those infamous gatherings. Some say Diddy's real genius wasn't in his music or his business ventures. It was in his ability to collect leverage. The idea is that these parties weren't just wild nights out, they were traps. Rooms full of hidden cameras, recording every laugh, every whispered conversation, every compromising moment. And who were the stars of these recordings? Not just up-and-coming artists desperate for a break, but established industry titans. Celebrities so big that their mere presence at one of Diddy's events was enough to lend it an air of untouchable exclusivity. The thought of what might be caught on those tapes has Hollywood on edge. Imagine the potential fallout if even a fraction of those rumors turns out to be true. But here's where it gets even murkier. There are whispers that these tapes, or whatever evidence might exist, are being used to Diddy's advantage right now as he fights to clear his name. Think about it. Who would want to publicly accuse him if they knew their own secrets could come spilling out in the process? This isn't just about what Diddy might have done, it's about what he might know. And that knowledge, that alleged arsenal of dirt, could be his ultimate weapon. It's a chilling thought, isn't it, that someone could hold an entire industry hostage, not with force, but with information.
Well, first of all, I can only imagine how sloppy Sean Combs was with evidence when he got busted with those 2 machine guns or 3 machine guns with the altered serial numbers. So I really don't trust Sean Combs or the people around him's ability to properly cover up anything. So I envision that you're going to see a trial, payments from his Amex for flights for people, straight payments directly from his company to people.
The fear isn't just theoretical, it's palpable. You can see it in the way certain celebrities have gone radio silent, refusing to comment on the allegations against Diddy. Some of these are people who were regular fixtures at his parties, who once sang his praises and posed for photos with him like they were part of the same inner circle. Now, they're nowhere to be found. No statements of support, no denials, no nothing. It's as if they're holding their breath, waiting to see how this all plays out. And honestly, who can blame them? In a situation like this, even saying the wrong thing could come back to haunt you. And then there's the public, watching all of this unfold like it's the latest Netflix true crime series. The fascination is undeniable, but so is the outrage. People are demanding answers, demanding accountability. They want to know how someone like Diddy could rise so high, accumulate so much power, and seemingly operate without consequences for so long. They want to know who else knew about what was allegedly happening at those parties and why no one spoke up sooner. And perhaps most importantly, they want to know what happens next. Because let's face it, this isn't just about Diddy. This is about an industry that has allowed and in some cases enabled this kind of behavior for decades.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me.
What's particularly haunting is the sense that we're still only scratching the surface. For every new allegation, for every old story that's resurfaced, there are undoubtedly countless others that have yet to come to light. And the questions keep piling up. How deep does this go? How many lives were affected? And how much of what we thought we knew about Diddy was just a carefully constructed facade? The answers might be out there, but they're buried under layers of secrecy, fear, and denial. And digging them up won't be easy. But here's the thing about secrets. They have a way of coming out no matter how tightly they're kept. Whether it's through court documents, leaked recordings, or the bravery of those willing to speak their truth, the full story will emerge eventually. And when it does, it could change everything. Not just for Diddy, but for an entire industry that's already on shaky ground. So buckle up, because if you thought this was the climax, think again. The real revelations are still waiting in the wings. Now, here's what we want to know. With everything we've uncovered so far, do you think Diddy's empire can survive this? Or is this the beginning of the end for one of music's most powerful figures? Drop your thoughts below and trust us. This is far from over. We'll catch you in the next one. Stay tuned.